shared a Google Doc so that you can do like notes and stuff like that. I don't know if that was ever helpful to the physiology crew, but a couple people did that. All right, just cut this off. Oh my God, I'm so tired. All right, so, okay, look it. You guys peeled the skin off this shark. You did a nice job. What is it? It's a female. Okay, look, wait, let's do this first. Male, claspers, okay? Female, no claspers, okay? Claspers, no claspers. So we know that these claspers have associated with them these medial muscle strips here. If we were to put those muscle strips on the female, they'd cover these medial pelvic adductors, right? Pelvic adductor. Okay, so the female has pelvic adductors. The male has pelvic adductors and it has siphon muscles. Okay? So, males, complicated. Clasper, pelvic adductor, siphon. Okay? Females are nice and neat, simple. All right, so look at, we skin the shark, and what's this muscle right here? What's
the
dorsal fin muscle. Okay, look, and then you guys, when you skinned it, there's like connective tissue, right? So if you can see kind of through this connective tissue, but you guys peeled enough away here that we revealed some structures that we really want to see. Okay, so first of all, I want to find this connective tissue line here. This is called the horizontal septum. And what it does is it separates the trunk muscles that are dorsal on the fish to the trunk muscles that are ventral. Each of these muscle segments here, all of those yellow strips, is called a myomere. The connective tissue, this white area here that separates each of the myomeres, is called a myoseptum. The groups of myomeres that are dorsal to the horizontal septum are called epaxial myomeres. Those that are ventral are called hypaxial myomeres. Okay, so epaxials, hypaxials, horizontal septum. What fin is this? Pectoral. And then what's this muscle?
Abductor.
Pectoral fin abductor. Okay? That's awesome. All right, so I like mine better. Kind of, not really. Yeah, I guess I do. I like it a lot better. All right, so just anterior to our pectoral fin, we have these 5 openings. What are those called? Gill slits. Okay, so if we look at each of the gill slits, there's a myomere associated with each one dorsally, and then there's a myomere associated with each one ventrally. Okay? So these are called the dorsal superficial constrictors, and these are called the ventral superficial constrictors. And when they contract, they shorten and they pull the gill slits closed. Okay, so that helps to circulate some and control some of the water moving in and out of those gill openings. Okay, so look at each of these dorsal superficial constrictors ends at this triangular shaped muscle here. Okay, that triangular shaped muscle is known as the cucularis. Cucularis, I have no idea what it means. I have no idea. Okay, so we have a reduction in the number of gill slits in the more derived species of shark. And so those structures that form those gill slits, like gill arches and things like that, become something else, like jaws, ear bones, other stuff. So the dorsal superficial constrictors that are associated with those derived gill slits that are missing also become specialized for something else. So if I locate my last gill slit here, I can find my most anterior dorsal superficial constrictor, and I can look just anterior to that. Okay, so what I find here is that just anterior to this gill slit is this strip of muscle here. Okay, it's a long muscle that's like a dorsal superficial constrictor, but it's just anterior to this last dorsal superficial constrictor and this last gill slit, and it's just posterior to this round cheek muscle. Okay, so that strip right there is called the levator hyoideus. So it elevates or lifts the hyoid bone. Your hyoid bone is here. It's very posterior compared to where the lower jaw or mandible is. Okay, so what we see here is that the more posterior strip of muscle, the levator hyoideus, is posterior to this little rectangle of muscle right here that's just behind the spherical and just dorsal to the adductor mandibulae or the cheek muscle. This is called the levator hyomandibulae. Okay, so the mandible, look at, is more anterior on the body than is the hyoid. Your levator hyomandibulae is more anterior to the levator hyoideus. Okay, so that you'll know the order in that manner. Okay, dorsal superficial constrictors, levator hyoideus, levator hyomandibulae. This cheek muscle here is called the adductor mandibulae. So it's adding the mandible to the midline. It's closing the jaw. Okay, it's a huge, thick muscle. Sharks don't chew, but they have a really strong bite force. Okay, adductor mandibulae. Now, just anterior to our levator hyomandibulae and just dorsal to our adductor mandibulae is this hole. What's that hole called? Spiracle. Okay, so the spiracle is in charge of pumping water over the gills when the shark's mouth is closed or full. Okay, and it does that through a series of muscle actions that involves this front wall or anterior wall of the spiracle. This is actually a muscle called the spiracularis, and when it contracts, it shuts the spiracle. Okay, so that helps create the pressure to draw in water. Okay, so we have the spiracle, the spiracularis, and look, just anterior to that spiracularis is this little strip of muscle right here. So it's just anterior to here. It's a teeny tiny little rectangle. This is called the levator palatoquadrate. Okay, tiny muscle, big name. All right, so now if I look anterior to my adductor mandibulae and just ventral to the eye, I see this strap of muscle right here. This is called the preorbitalis. Now it's before the eye orbit. Okay, so real quick, we'll go over those again. Cucularis, dorsal superficial constrictors, ventral superficial constrictors, levator hyoideus, levator hyomandibulae, adductor mandibulae, spiracularis, levator palatoquadrate, preorbitalis. Okay? All right, now, you guys have a nice levator palatoquadrate right there. Okay, let's look at the ventral side of the shark. Okay, so look at, we can see that these, you guys did a nice job here, these ventral superficial constrictors are moving toward the midline of the shark. Okay, so remember we have all of these myosepta, myomeres, myosepta. We have this horizontal septum right here. Another septum that's important is the one that goes down the body's midline. This is called the linea alba. Okay, so yeah, white line means white line. Okay, we have a linea alba too, and in pregnant or gravid women, it draws a lot of melanin. Have you guys ever seen a pregnant woman's belly? It's so crazy, yeah. Ooh. But like after you have a kid, you can like rub it off, like it comes off, like yeah, right. I'm not going to tell you the story. Oh man. So there's this girl in my high school that's just, whew. No, she's like, we used to call her skinny, because she like had this boyfriend and like he's super super white, and he'd go and get sunburned and she'd peel his skin off and eat it.
Eat it. Ew, what?
I know, right? It's Michigan. All right, so we have our ventral superficial constrictors here, and see they're inserting toward the midline. And just before they get to the midline, they encounter this, look at it, looks like a big isosceles triangle here, but it's actually two right triangle shaped muscles that are in the middle. Okay, these are called the coracoarcules. Coracoarcules. Coraco refers to what on us, like if we were to compare the upper sternum area, so like right under the neck. So this is really important because in order to open the jaw, there are 3 straps of muscle groups that are associated with the anterior portion of the coracoarcules. So there are jaw opening group, and we'll get to those in a minute. Okay, so you have your coracoarcules here, and then look at, here's the mandible or lower jaw. We can see, what's this muscle here? Adductor mandibulae. Look at, I can see that muscle from here, I can see it here, and I can see it here. So you should be able to know what it is at every single angle. All right, so between the jaw, the lower jaw area, and these adductor mandibulae bone or muscles, is this sheet of muscle here. Okay, it's like a fan, like this. This is called the intermandibularis. So it's between the mandible bones. Okay, now the intermandibularis is actually 2 layers of muscle. Okay, and they're very tightly wound together, so we can't separate them. But in order to see the lower layer, which is called the interhyoideus, we have to cut into the intermandibularis right here and reflect it back. So when we reflect it back, we can see that underside layer. That's the interhyoideus. Okay, so I'm going to attempt to do that here. Wish me luck. Oh, look at, it's broken already. That's okay. It's okay. I think I can salvage it. Try. You guys have me on the spot. What if I show you on this one and then I'll work on this one? Okay, so this is my shark here. And what I've done is I've kind of picked away at the interhyoideus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, see the interhyoideus here. I'm going to reflect it back, fold it over. So this lower layer here, that's the interhyoideus. Okay, right here. See? Intermandibularis, interhyoideus. Okay, so it's like this. All right. Now, just below the linea alba that separates the intermandibularis and interhyoideus is 3 pairs of strap muscles. Okay, you see this medial one here? It starts here at the coracoarcules. It originates there, and then it inserts on the tip of the mandible. This is called the coracomandibularis. Okay? Now, look at lateral to the coracomandibularis, I see two pairs of muscle straps. These are the coracohyoids. All right, and then deep to the coracohyoids are another strap of muscle right here. Okay, see that? There's a third deep strap of muscle. That's the coracobranchials. So it looks like this: coracomandibularis, coracohyoids, coracobranchials. Okay? Those all shut the jaw. All right? So look, ventral superficial constrictors, coracoarcuoles, interhyoideus, intermandibularis, interhyoideus, coracoarcuole, or coracomandibularis, God, coracohyoids, coracobranchials, deep here, okay? I can find this one over here, deep in here. Okay, so let's cut open our shark. What we want to do is we want to see the inside of the digestive tract and identify different guts and mesenteries. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at in that abdominal cavity is that mesodermic coelom that we talked about in the development of the vertebrates.
Are we all going to cut up our sharks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you not want me to do yours so you
No,
can
that's
do
not
it?
mine. That's not.
Do you not want me to do
Oh,
yours?
you're good. That's
okay.
ours.
All right. So what I want to do is I want to aim through the middle of my gill arches and then try to join with this middle incision that's already there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my big scissors into the jaw with the nubby end so I don't hurt anything. And you're going to cut through cartilage, so it's going to be kind of a cut. Okay, so you're going to end right at the anterior of the cloaca. So when we go down to the cloaca, I want to point out this teeny tiny structure here. Hold on, let me get all this poop away. All right, see this little triangle right here? It's a teeny tiny little triangle. See that? Okay, can you guys see that? This is a little teeny triangle right here. All right, that's called, in the female, the urogenital papilla. Urinary, god damn it, sorry. Sorry, darn it. In the female, it's the urinary papilla. In the male, looks exactly the same. I cut it open like way more, so it's more sticky outy. You guys see that? I have no idea. Urogenital papilla in the male, the same thing. Okay, I think it's because both, like the sperm and the pee come out of the same place. That same
What's
area.
the female one?
Urinary papilla.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah, urogenital papilla tract infection. All right, so look at, I've cut open my shark here. Look at, he threw up fish.
Oh my gosh. What?
We had one yesterday that had little shrimp eyes in it. Okay, so look at inside the mouth here. That's pretty cool. What I can see is the teeth here, and what are these openings? Where do those go? Spiracles, yeah, okay. So these are the internal openings of the spiracles. All right. So where those end and the gill slits begin, this is the pharynx, okay, or the branchial area, the pharynx, okay. Anterior to the spiracle openings is the oral cavity, the mouth, okay. So you have your mouth, you have your pharynx, and then the digestive tract starts. Okay, look, each of these gill slits has an internal opening and an external gill slit. And each gill slit is held in place and made strong by these bony arches that are called gill arches. You guys see the little feathery, sticky-offy things? Those are called gill rakers. So if the shark takes in any big chunk of something while it's swimming around, the gill rakers prevent it from obstructing any of the gas exchange surface in the gill. If we look inside the gill, okay, see I cut that one in half, okay? I can see gill arch here, but attached to each gill arch are these gill filaments, okay? So you guys ever look at the bottom of a mushroom cap? They have these little gills in them too. But this is, in the shark, these are highly vascularized. They're pink because they're taking in oxygen, and that's where gas exchange takes place in the shark. Okay? So gill arches, gill rakers, gill filaments. All right. Look at how short the digestive tract is. Now you can imagine if this shark swallowed a whole entire big fish that's about the size of it, it doesn't have a whole lot of digestive tract to digest it and absorb all the nutrients that it needs. Okay, so what it needs to do is specialize along this digestive tract so it can optimize the surface area for digestion and absorption. We're going to see how it does that. Look at the digestive tract is attached to the dorsal body wall by this big sheet of tissue. This is called a mesentery. Okay, these mesenteries or ligaments hold our organs to the dorsal body wall. There's one ligament that holds our liver to the ventral body wall, and it's right here. See this? This is called the falciform ligament. We're going to see that in every single one of our vertebrate examples in the lab. Okay? We also have a falciform ligament too. It's actually left over from an embryonic umbilical vessel that goes away after birth. Okay? So look at, we have this big mesentery here connecting this big J-shaped stomach to the dorsal body wall. This is called the greater omentum. In your book, it's called the mesogaster. I like to call greater omentum the greater omentum because there's a lesser omentum too. So your book says mesogaster and mesentery proper, but greater omentum, whatever you're comfortable with, as long as it's the right thing. So, okay, so here's your greater omentum hooking the entire digestive tract, mostly the stomach, to the dorsal body wall. If I flip over this way, this weird stripy looking structure here, that's the large intestine. And if I lift it up, you can see that the large intestine is attached by a mesentery to the greater omentum. Okay, I can stick my finger in there and see the attachment right there. This is the lesser omentum, yeah. Okay, so here we have this big liver. The liver is really oily when you touch it. It's like sticky, oily, disgusting. The shark doesn't have a swim bladder. So you guys, have you ever cut open a fish and they have that gas bladder that helps them maintain buoyancy? Sharks don't have that, but what they do is they have this huge liver that produces oils, and those oils help with the buoyancy of the shark. Okay? So here we have the digestive tract. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut down the length of the digestive tract so we can see the inside. And we'll identify the parts of the digestive tract as we go. Mine's got a fish in it.
Wow. What?
There's like a whole fish vertebral column. Where'd it go? Oh, here. I tried to stuff it back in. I was so impressed. So in the past, we've had like whole squid, and like I said yesterday, somebody had shrimp, little shrimp in there. Okay, so I'm cutting down the digestive tract.
Mine is on a diet.
Yours are, yeah, liquid diet.
Yeah. She's very skinny.
Poor baby.
She's not happy.
Well, she did get something in there. Look at. She's making poop. All right. She ate a while ago. All right, so look at, here's our pharynx, here's our oral cavity, our pharynx.
Wow.
Look at that. Look at, see, this is like the grossest shag carpet that you've ever encountered in your life. This is the esophagus. So where you see these little finger-like projections, that's the esophagus. These are called esophageal papillae. In the shark, this is where digestion starts. Okay? So look at, we have, our esophagus is just a muscular tube. It's just a conduit. Okay? We know when the esophagus ends by these folds. These are called the rugae of the stomach. Okay, we have rugae too, but what happens is this stomach can hold a whole lot of stuff. All right, so these rugae disappear as the stomach stretches out so that it can hold a big bulk of stuff. All right, so look, the stomach is a J. See that? Mm-hmm. And the outer portion of the J is the greater curvature of the stomach, okay, because it's bigger. And then this inner portion of the J is the lesser curvature. Okay? Look at the bottom of the J of the stomach. There's this triangular organ. What letter does the word stomach start with? S. Spleen. Spleen, stomach. So the spleen and the stomach are together. Okay? So as I come to the end of my J-shaped stomach here, I can pinch. Look at, we have a huge reduction from here to here in diameter of this digestive tract. Right at that lessening of diameter, I can't talk, is if you pinch it, there's a round ball-shaped muscle in there that's called the pyloric sphincter. So it limits what's going into the intestines from the stomach. Okay? So pyloric sphincter starts with the letter what? P. Okay? Look at this little flap thing that's in the mesentery. Oops, that's my intestine. Okay, so look at that flap organ right here. See how small it is? It's from here to here. And then there's another lobe of it right here at the back of the spleen. This is the pancreas. Pancreas, pyloric sphincter, spleen, stomach. Huh? All right. Okay. So now in the human, we know that our small intestine is long, right? That's where the majority of our digestion and absorption takes place. Okay. In the shark, it's from the pyloric sphincter to the start of this stripy organ here. So it's just like that 1 inch long where this lobe of the pancreas is. That's the small intestine or the duodenum. Okay, there's nothing in there. There's food. Okay, but as we travel to this large intestine, which is also known as the spiral intestine, it's called the spiral intestine because each of these divisions here is called a spiral valve. And it makes a compartment of each chamber in the large intestine. And so as the food travels in these compartments, okay, look at it, it goes from real chunky and white to, it was better in another shark, to kind of brownish and a little bit more smooth, okay? So with each advancement, there's more and more nutrients being extracted, okay? This is the way that the shark digests large meals in this small amount of space, because it has spiral valves in the spiral intestine. And you can see with these pink and yellow lines here, those represent arteries and veins that are absorbing the nutrients that are coming out of each of those chambers. Okay, so where the spiral valves end, you can kind of see on the outside here, they stop right around here, and then the gut tube is smooth. That's called the rectum. Okay, so there's nothing fancy about it. All right, so you have esophagus with esophageal papillae, stomach with rugae, spleen. Look, there's a membrane holding the spleen to the stomach. That's called the gastrosplenic ligament. Okay, so some of the terms will tell you where they are. Okay, and then we roll around here. There's this muscle, the pyloric sphincter, at the junction between the stomach and the small intestine. Also, we find a lobe of the pancreas. Okay, duodenum, tiny small intestine. Then valvular or large intestine with spiral valves, rectum, cloaca. Okay, so we have greater omentum, lesser omentum on the spiral intestine side, gastrosplenic ligament. We have another membrane up here, the falciform ligament. That's the only membrane that's holding an organ to the ventral body wall. Okay, everything else is dorsal body wall. We have where the liver is here. Look at, there's a bunch of vessels that's coming from the small intestine area to the liver. And these vessels are encapsulated in a mesentery that's called the hepatoduodenal ligament. Okay, so from the liver, the hepatic area, to the duodenum or the small intestine. That big yellow vessel is the hepatic portal vein. So it's draining all of the blood from the guts up into the liver to be filtered. Okay, so look, our liver has two big lobes. It's joined together in the middle by an isthmus, and we can see part of that mesentery, that hepatoduodenal mesentery there. In the middle of this isthmus is this big stinky green balloon here. This is called the gallbladder. Okay, gallbladder, it holds bile, which is secreted from the liver, transported directly into the duodenum, where we have emulsification of fats. Okay? Now, let's look back here at the rectum area. Look at, there's this gland here. This is called the rectal gland. Okay, so it tells you what it is, where it is. The rectal gland's in charge of balancing minerals like sodium and magnesium and calcium for, like, you know, stuff the body does. And it is hooked to the dorsal body wall by this mesentery here. This is called the mesorectum. Okay, so you have mesorectum, greater omentum, lesser omentum, gastrosplenic ligament, hepatoduodenal ligament, falciform ligament. Now we have a girl here, right? Let's look for the gonads. Where do you think the gonads are? I think I might have taken them out on that side. Or else they're just tiny, tiny. They're so small. Yeah!
Wow.
Okay, so, oh, look at, here's part of it. So it should be up here. Look at, and here, look at my shark. The testes are these flaps here. Now, if it were more mature, it would be like, it would look like the rectal gland. Okay, they'd be a big tubular organ.
They're on their back.
So, okay, so testes, ovaries up here, okay? If they were more mature, you'd be able to see individual oocytes or ova. Yeah. So, and in the past, we've had sharks that have had little pups in it. These are so immature that, look at, if I take up, this is the round ligament here, holding the oviduct to the dorsal body wall. You can hardly see the oviduct, so we're not going to do oviducts, okay? But definitely ovaries and testes. How do you tell if it's an ovaries or testes?
I'm just gonna
You look at the fins. Yep, that's the only thing you can do when they're at this stage. Okay. All right. So the reason that the gonads are way up here is because they're derived from tissue that forms from the apex or top of the kidney. In humans and in mammals, those tissues descend posteriorly as we grow older through signals and hormones. Okay? These guys, they don't have to descend into an outer sac or a womb area because the oviduct and the uterus in the female takes up the entire abdominal cavity when it's
So
gravid.
when they're pregnant, it's all the way up here.
So they will hold pups. This whole thing here, this whole line grows huge, and they'll hold like litters.
How many?
I don't know. I think we've pulled 16 out of a shark.
What?
They used to be like this big, but they're hard to skin, so it's kind of nice. All right, so that's what you need to look for. Oh. Since these are ovaries here, the ovaries are attached to the dorsal body wall by this little ligament here. My testes are too. So, see, they're stuck to the dorsal body wall. All right? That ligament or mesentery in the female is called the mesovarium. So, it's a mesentery that's hooking the ovary to the dorsal body wall, mesovarium. In the male, it's called mesorchium. Okay? Orchi is the orchi or orchid refers to testis. I don't know why. They don't look like orchids to me. But that's where it came from. Okay?
Where's the heart?
The heart is in between the coracoarcules. Look at, I did mine. You're going to do that next time.
This whole time I was like, I don't see a heart.
Yeah, right? So remember, it's got 2 chambers only. This is the ventricle, the muscular pump that's pumping blood into the gills. And this bag right here, it looks like it's 2 actually, but it's just 1. That's the atrium. That's the receiving chamber. Okay? All right?
So we are
Next
done
time.
for today?
Yeah.